Okay, the first round of the NBA draft concluded last night, and the Utah Jazz had a pair of picks and selected Ace Bailey and Walter Clatyon Jr.
All right, to help us break it all down, what the Jazz did last night, we have Alema Harington, host of Utah Jazz Game Night. Airs on game days right here on KJazz. Thanks for coming in, Alema.
Oh, glad to be here.
You were a first-round draft pick, and no one took you.
That's right. I was available. What happened? I'm going to talk to my agent on that, right?
Okay, so what do you think of the picks?
I think this was a huge win for the Jazz, and I think when you're breaking down the draft, you're trying to get, okay, what's the national perspective? That's somewhat important. How do they feel internally? Austin Ainge, of course, taking over earlier in June, and then now getting ready for the draft and taking all of that experience he had with the Celtics, 17-plus years, and bringing that to the Utah Jazz. I think you can see his imprint on this draft class, these two picks right here. Ace Bailey, in a lot of people's opinion, including mine, one of the top talents in this draft, and could have gone higher. There was a lot of, I don't know if it was subterfuge or if it was just chaos and noise about him not wanting to go certain places. So he, prior to Cooper Flagg reclassifying and becoming a college freshman, Ace Bailey was really considered probably the top talent in this draft class.
Yeah,
so for him to drop to 5 for the Utah Jazz, I think it's almost, you cannot not take him if he's available.
I watched his reel last night, and he's a fabulous player.
Oh, yeah. 6'8", 7-foot wingspan, a kid that can truly shoot. Is a rare commodity, and guys that have that type of talent have a good, strong possibility of being good players in the NBA. And you pick him at number 5 for the Utah Jazz, who of course had hopes of getting the number one pick after having the worst record in the NBA last year, and they fall to 5, and they end up getting Ace Bailey. It's a huge win.
What can we expect from these players? What impact do you think they're going to have on the team?
Well, I think because for Ace Bailey, who was saying, I want to go to Washington or I want to go to Brooklyn in different situations, I don't know that he could be in a better situation. And of course, we're talking about our team, so we have, we think of them very fondly. But if you're looking at a place where you can develop and be an impact player as a young kid, Ace Bailey landed in a great place. Austin Ainge now taking over as the director of basketball operations is all about development. This is a very
Donovan,
and if you look at Austin Ainge's history, go back to the Boston Celtics, he was very instrumental in the pick of Jason Tatum there. And if you look at the measurables between Ace Bailey, Jason Tatum, they're very, very similar. Now that would be, a dream come true if he were to turn into that. But even if he were to fall short of a Jason Tatum, then I think you got a real big win here.
What about Clayton?
Well, the thing I love about Clayton, and so many of us, of course, you watch on Channel 2, watch the NCAA tournament. They go on and they win the national championship. You have a competitive guy that is mature. He's 22 years old. You'll see him at the draft. He was with his daughter. So, I mean, there's a certain amount of maturity that you get with a guy that's been in college for 4 years, started at Iona, finished at Florida. Also, a really good high school football player that had an opportunity to go Division I in football as a quarterback or a safety. He chooses basketball. And I think everything that you've seen from Walter Clatyon Jr. is this guy is a winner. And he's a motivator. He makes the guys around him better, and he's a great talent on his own.
Any surprises overall from draft night as a whole?
I think maybe the surprise was everybody was looking, where's Knipple going to go? And I think that really 1 through 3, everybody understood that you're probably going to go Harper at number 2 after Cooper Flagg, and then Edgecombe, who's just a fantastic athlete, at number 3, and then who was going to go at number 4? Was it going to be, Trey Johnson? Was it going to be Ace Bailey? Was it going to be Con Knipple? Ends up being Knipple, and that kind of opened things up after that for the Jazz to be able to make a selection for Ace Bailey.
Okay, there are probably going to be some other changes coming up on the Jazz roster.
Yeah.
So how do you think this is going to balance out?
Well, I think that Austin Ainge as the architect now, those things are all in his purview now, what he decides to do. I think at this point, as we're looking at the second round today, the Jazz have 1 pick. One of the picks was traded to be able to get Walter Clayton Jr. at number 18 and move up from 21. All those things remain to be seen. I think, as players start to come in and they look at how are we going to, how are we going to put this team together, that's where, now the front office, has their work cut out for them to figure out how that looks.
Well, it was definitely a down season last year.
Sure.
Jazz fans may be getting a little anxious about
Yeah.
this, okay? They want a winning team.
Yeah.
And now.
Yeah, well, it's still a process. So, you're hoping that it's going to be different. There's no question that it's not going to be like it was last year where you only won 17 games. And trust me, as a guy that's got to do post-game shows for 65 losing games, that's a difficult undertaking for me, Mike Smith, and our crew. And so we're hoping for much better than that as well. And certainly it'll be different this year. And even with Austin Ainge as the architect now, I think you're going to see some differences in the way that the team on the floor is going to look.
All right, Alema, thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks,
great
guys.
having you here.
All right.
You should come back more often.